Good morning, folks, and thank you for joining us today. We are going to cover embedding analytics into applications with Amazon QuickSight, which is ANT217. My name is Jose Knuckle John. I'm a Principal Product Manager with Amazon QuickSight. And speaking with me today are Nick Hahn, who is VP of Product at Cub OS, and Lata Govada, who is Senior Manager of Analytics at Capital One. First, let's take a look at what we are going to cover today. So we'll talk about the embedded analytics journey. Why do it at all? Why does that make a difference in your product or in your solution? Then we'll cover why Amazon QuickSight provides a compelling solution for your embedded analytics needs. We'll talk a little bit about some of the new changes in Amazon QuickSight that make a difference when you are thinking of embedded analytics for your solutions. And then we'll hear from both Nick and from Lata about embedded analytics making a difference in their organizations of very different scales. Now let's touch a little bit on the embedded analytics journey. Systems and applications today collect large amounts of data. This data could be about transactions, could be about interactions, and so on. This data contains a lot of valuable insights on user behavior, the actions that the users take, the impact those have, and so on. Now, the users of these systems, whether they are end users or administrators, can use this information in many different ways. So what you'll find is that consumers of these applications typically have a desire to access this data. They want to slice and dice it so that they can make use of these insights and finally make data-driven decisions. So all of you have a need for such data. Now, the big question is, why do this as a product owner or an application owner? As we look into what benefits embedded analytics can provide for your application, a few things come to mind. First, by embedding analytics, you are adding this to the user journey. So you're not asking them to go elsewhere. You're not giving them a different website to go to. All you're saying is log in and you have the data around the actions that you've taken or the impact that you've had. This increases user engagement because users now know the exact results of their actions. So if you think about an education application, you've got teachers who log in and see details about their students performing. If you think about administrators of a system, they log in and they can see who has used the system the most, who is deriving the most value. This increases user engagement, but at the same time, it also increases differentiation of your product. So if you think about your product versus any other product in the market, yours with embedded analytics makes a big difference in the purchasing decision. And finally, this creates upsell opportunities because when customers of your application look at data and if they only get raw data dumps, they are forced to go create a pipeline, clean this data, put it in an application and slice and dice it. Now with embedded analytics, you're giving them an opportunity where they can go and simply access this within, saving them a lot of pain and in the process creating an upsell opportunity for you. Now the typical question that comes up with embedded analytics is a build versus buy, just as in any part of software. Now if you build embedded analytics, there are several advantages. First, this obviously leverages in-house resources available to you. So if you have software engineers, developers, UX designers, that's great. A few of them can start building this out. There's also perceived low upfront risk because you're using the resources you have. Things are easy to get started. It feels like you're adding a few charts to your already existing application. And so it seems like there is very low risk in getting started. And finally, you have full control over what's built. So depending on how extensive you want to go or how little you want to do, you have control over every aspect of your user experience.
But then again, there are some disadvantages to going and building it out entirely yourself. The first, of course, is that you need specialized UI UX resources. So many of the applications that we see, the core business is not building UI. The core business is delivering value in, let's say, sales and marketing or operations or security, many different areas. And here you're talking about hiring or leveraging part of the scarce UI UX resources that you have and getting them to focus on embedded analytics, which might not be the core area. You must maintain and evolve this over time. So whenever you go down and start using, let's say, open source libraries or solutions out there, you have to maintain. Whenever there are updates, you have to go in, you have to patch, you have to, whenever there's a new browser, you need to take that into consideration, make sure everything renders well, and so on. So there's effort involved. And then there's the whole notion of, what do you start with and what do you end with? Initially, like I said, you might start off with a couple of charts in a table, some Excel file that you can export. But as you put this out to your users, you'll find that there's ask for more and more. So people want better insights, more insights, and especially as they see data, then the next question is, hey, can I drill into that data? Or can I filter it from time range A to B? Can you make this more interactive? So there are a lot of asks that come in that then become like BI functionality that you want to build in. Now, the last item that happens with a lot of the customers that we speak with is that you build looking at a certain scale. So especially when you're in prototype or you're in early stages, you want to quickly build it, get it out so that you can show the value out and you can get things going. But as you move from tens of users to hundreds of users to thousands and then millions, that scale, you find that there are scale points at which either your servers have to be re-architected, your entire infrastructure needs to be thought out, or your code needs to be broken down into different modules. So there's work that needs to be done at each point. So all of this, the entire scaling journey becomes something that you have to keep in mind. And that brings you to the question of, why don't I just buy something off the shelf? So there's plenty of embedded analytics solutions out there in the market. Why don't we just pick one of those? So definitely there are advantages. The biggest one being that you get to market faster. So you get rich analytics out of the box, all the functionality that we talked about, filtering, drill downs, interactions, all of that just come out of the box, so you don't have to build any of that, you don't have to manage the libraries. And then whenever you have updates, so whether it's a security update that you need to do or it's something else of that nature where, like I said, the new browser comes in, like for example, Microsoft's updating Edge. All of that gets taken care of by the vendor and their updates. And you get to focus your core resources on the product. Now the flip side to this is that all of the third-party solutions, or most of them in the market today, require you to have some sort of server management. So you get embedded analytics out of the box, you have servers that you can deploy for this purpose, but then that also means that you have to forecast. You have to think about usage, you have to plan how many servers do you need, you have to deploy these to your varied user base, and then you have to scale them. So again, the same story, you have tens of users and then you move to hundreds, thousands, you need to scale your servers accordingly. And different aspects come into play, like concurrency and the data that you have, and all of that requires you to manipulate and manage servers. There's also the question of updates, because as much as updates are handled by the BI vendor, it still means that you need to get that update, you need to update your servers, which means there is some downtime, there is pain associated with that. And then there's the question of commitments and the cost involved. So most solutions out there come with servers. So servers mean that you have step functions in terms of pricing. So you pay for a server, you get the value associated with it. But then even before you get the value, even before you have your first user login, you're already signing up for depends on the product, but tens of thousands of dollars, and without any value being realized on your end. And you'll see that these commitments end up being long-term commitments because getting through them, moving away is quite difficult. And so with that frame in mind, we'd like to talk to you and talk about QuickSight and how Amazon QuickSight provides a compelling solution for your embedded analytics needs. So why QuickSight? That's the number one question here. And let me take a step back and just talk about how we think about QuickSight. So when we think about Amazon as a company with hundreds of thousands of employees, or any of the AWS customers today, you know the big ones, and most of them have millions of customers, millions of end users who log in on the platforms every day. When we think about BI and analytics today, we talk about the solutions that you've all heard about, that you've all used, but each of them has been thinking about users in tens and thousands. Now, when you start hitting scales of hundreds of thousands or millions, there's always the question of how do you manage something at that scale? And so most people thinking about embedded analytics often, say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to go and manage a bunch of servers to get this out. Let me just build it out myself. And that in turn just ends up being similar kind of work. So when we thought about QuickSight and when we built it out, we went through a few key aspects that we wanted to make sure this service adheres to. So number one, we wanted it to be cloud native, which means that there are no servers. Everything just auto scales to your user base. So whether you start off with tens, great, you can get started with tens, it's very easy. And then you can scale to hundreds, thousands, and so on. In fact, we've got customers who overnight move from tens of users to thousands, so they add overnight, and they don't have to worry about anything. There is no server deployment, there is no checklist. And what it means for your end user is that whenever you have a dashboard that's served by QuickSight, you get fast and consistent performance. So every time you log into the platform, you get served by the cloud. Everything looks fine, and the end user interactions work out great. It's fully integrated. It must be fully integrated into AWS. So when we think about a service that you're building out, we must have the hooks so that whenever you build something on the rest of AWS, you're able to leverage that with QuickSight. So this means things like access to data that's in your private VPC. This means being able to create a serverless stack with Athena. And this also means that you will be able to leverage all of the investments that AWS is making in machine learning so that you can get those insights out to your end users. We also wanted this platform to be secure and global. So AWS is across the world and in multiple regions. And QuickSight is rolling out to these regions. So we have end-to-end encryption, we have native high availability, and we have these global regions that are available for you to put your data out to your users. And we have a pricing model that matches this so that you pay for what you use. And finally, we wanted the system to be easy to develop. So anybody should be able to get started, which means that you can use a web browser, get started. There are no clients to be installed. There's no data being downloaded onto desktops for your dashboards to be created. You can easily integrate with single sign-on systems or Active Directory. And ultimately, when you want to get this out to your users, you can embed these into your application. So you take analytics to where your user is. And with our latest changes, you can also customize it so that change management becomes easy. Now let me drill into a few of those things that we spoke about so that we can get into detail and understand that a little bit in depth. So first, auto scaling. Today, when you think about any kind of solution that you host, you typically have servers, and if you're an owner of the system, you're somebody who manages it, you have the art down to a science. So you know how many users you can manage, what's a peak day like, you've provisioned for that capacity, and you know what you need. Now, you obviously plan for growth events. So for example, if you have a big day coming, you think about it, you add servers, or you scale the system appropriately. But there are events like more concurrent users. So it just so happens that one day somebody sent out a report and there's high concurrency because everybody decided to log in at 9 a.m. on that Tuesday. There's more complex dashboards. So the dashboards that you have today, or the visuals that you show today, might not be the visuals that you have in, let's say, a year or even 6 months. What that means is that you will have more interactions or more complex calculations being done, more insightful analysis being presented, but that also means that there's more load on the server. And when you have users in multiple geographic areas, typically if you have, let's say, a user in US and Europe and you're adding somebody new in Australia, if it's one or two users, it's very difficult to stand up a new server for them. You typically have them access over from Europe or US, which means latency and so on. And until you hit critical mass, it's very difficult to go justify a new set of servers for that locale. And then you have the question of high availability, which as a best practice you typically want in every system that you have, which again means that you have more servers. So a typical BI embedded system that relies on servers has all of these needs. So it typically needs more servers as you go through any of these different criteria. And it also needs management, which means that you actually have time and money that you're investing in here. Now with QuickSight, as you know, it is part of the cloud, so it's part of AWS, and like we talked about, it's built to auto scale. So what happens is when you have growth in users, the typical planned growth event, you have auto scaling. You have more complex dashboards, you auto scale. You have geographically distributed users, you're able to just deploy a dashboard to a new region and have them be served out of that region, and high availability is just built in. Overall, what this means is you no longer have to worry about servers you used to think about. Now, when I say two key points that I'd like you to think about. One, our private VPC connectivity, which means that there is no public routing of data when you want to connect to data from your RDS, Redshift, or Presto clusters. Both of these sources support both direct query and Spice. For those of you who are new, Spice is our in-memory data store that provides fast interactive access to data. It's something that you can use to offload queries from your underlying data source like a database or data warehouse. And the second point I'd like you to take home is our serverless architecture that QuickSight enables. So with S3, Athena, and QuickSight, you're able to create this serverless pipeline where you can control access via AWS IAM permissions, and you have a very easy way to set up and manage analytics off of just S3 data. So what this means is you can create dashboards in minutes and you pay for what you use. Now, when I mentioned pay for what you use earlier, this is what I meant. Our Amazon QuickSight Enterprise Edition, which is where you'll find embedding and which is the edition that's built for usage at scale, you'll find that authors have a per month subscription pricing. So it's $18 per user a month. It's billed annually. We also have a month-to-month option, which is at $24 a month. But for readers, who are the vast majority of users in any analytics system, we have a session-based pricing. So every reader, every user who consumes dashboards in QuickSight must be uniquely identified. And when they are identified, they are charged on a per session basis. So it's 30 cents a session. A session is a 30-minute interval. And you're charged just for the sessions you consume, but with the added advantage of a max cap. So this means that if you have 10 users in the system and you have 5 of them who never log in a given month, you don't pay for them. You have 3 of them who log in twice a month, you pay 60 cents for them for the month. And then you have the 2 who log in every day for 30 days, you pay $5 each. So it becomes a system where you get started paying nothing, and end of the month, you only pay for the usage you see with the added advantage of the cap. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can roll this out to all your users, which means you can take advantage of all of our regions. There's more coming as well. And these regions all have localization so that you can use the interface in the local language. And finally, we've got differentiation with machine learning, where you can use this differentiation within your dashboards to delight your customers. Now, when I say natural language and machine learning, we've got auto narratives. Now, what auto narratives do is that QuickSight automatically generates these narratives from the data, from the charts that you build. It shows you insights in plain English. You can go and customize these. It does one-click forecasting, again, utilizing machine learning. So with the forecasting that we have in QuickSight, it's no longer just a straight line forecast, but QuickSight actually looks at the The insights, it looks at the outliers, excludes them, and gives you a very good quality forecast with a single click. You have anomaly detection that's available, so you can track millions of metrics and then be alerted as anomalies happen in your data. So this is very useful because you can do this on an hourly, weekly, the frequency that you want. And something we just announced last week is our integration with SageMaker. So this allows you to bring in custom models. This is in preview, but this allows you to bring in custom models and utilize the models that you have with your data. This is an example of a dashboard in QuickSight that uses the ML insights. So you'll notice that there's a lot of text. Now, the text allows you to really clarify the items that you want your users to take away. The visual on the extreme right has a forecast line, so you see that you're able to, the forecast actually follows the data. It just doesn't give you a straight line from there. And then you can, of course, include the regular BI functionality, the charts, the drill down, the filters, all of that. The text in the narratives actually changes. So depending on the data that's coming in, you'll find that it changes. You can configure it to be different colors, different font sizes, all of that. And finally, you can also embed dashboards, which is what this whole presentation is about. It's about embedded analytics. We launched this last year with NFL being a launch partner. And embedding gives you all of the capabilities of QuickSight with seamless authentication, and of course, all the advantages of no servers and paying for what you use. So let's take a quick look at what's new, the changes that will really enable you to complete this story of embedded analytics with QuickSight. First, I'd like to talk to theming. So this is something that's been often asked for. So what you're looking at here is a QuickSight dashboard as it used to be. So this is the classic QuickSight color as it was about a month or so ago. This is what we've done with it. We've introduced a new theme called Seaside. You'll notice that if I go back a slide, you'll notice that our visuals used to have some separation between them, and then the colors used to be a little muted. Seaside is a fresh take on the classic QuickSight theme. You'll notice that we no longer have those spaces between. We also, as part of theming, we've also introduced font size control over all of these different elements, so that whether it's the title, the text, the access labels, you can go even the table elements, you can go and change the font size. We've introduced another theme, which is a midnight theme. So these are two stock themes that come out of the box in addition to the classic theme. Both of them give you two different versions of your dashboard simply through a single click. And we've got a number of attributes in there. So on the layout on the right side, you can see that we're talking about the gutters, the margins, and the visual borders. And then you've got different color options on the visuals themselves. So all of this can be modified. And to make it fun, we also introduced an interactive theme editor. So we talked to a lot of our customers after we launched this, and they tell us that this is the most fun experience they've had in QuickSight because they can sit at it, play with their dashboards for a long time and come up with very different color schemes, backgrounds. And from an embedded analytics standpoint, the biggest advantage this gets you is that you're able to theme things in the colors that you have, your company colors, the colors of your application, so that it's very easy to embed and make it a natural experience for your users. The second set of big features that I'd like to talk about are our APIs. So with QuickSight's APIs, now we've got data source APIs, data set APIs, spice ingestion, and the fine-grained permission controls that I talked about earlier, which relate to S3 and Athena. You can manage them using APIs. And you also have dashboard APIs and template APIs that actually let you version and manage the dashboards that you have in QuickSight. So the combination of all of these gives you some pretty powerful capabilities. If I were to put that in context and then talk you through an embedded analytics story, let's imagine that you have 3 sets of customers, and you want to give them 3 dashboards, or the same dashboard, but with small tweaks, because let's say the underlying data is slightly different. This is very common in an application. We've talked to many customers who got this use case where the data might have different field names, it might be called differently, but then the views that you want are almost exactly similar. So we've got another feature called row-level security that some of you are familiar with. That's great for this use case, but typically within an organization. When you're trying to share data outside an organization and you have hundreds or thousands of tens of thousands of customers, you probably have different needs for each customer, slightly different from the previous. And so you want to provide views of data to those groups of customers. You also have, let's say, the data sitting in S3, which is sitting as flat files, separate files for each customer. Now, what you can do is go ahead, and this is in QuickSight. It's a web-based UI. So you log in, you connect to S3, you create your first data set, you create the dashboard that you want, you're happy. And now once you've done that, you can use the APIs to operationalize all of this. So you can go create that data source, the connection to S3 programmatically. You can do this separately for each customer or do one connection. And then you can use the data set APIs to filter that data down to specific data sets. So data sets are curated sets of data from a connection. You can use that to filter down the data. And then using our dashboard and template APIs, take the visual data, the presentation data that you have. So the dashboard that you created, you can create a template out of it. A template is nothing but the metadata of the visuals and what kind of schema goes into a specific dashboard. And from that template, you can operationalize it so that different dashboards are created for each set of users, and they are connected to different data sets. So this is pretty powerful capability because now you can stamp out these data sets and dashboards for all of your users. So to summarize, from an embedded analytics standpoint, what these new changes give you, in addition to the changes, the underlying infrastructure and the architecture that QuickSight provides, is that with themes, you're able to create dashboards that fit into your end user experience. With APIs, you're able to take these dashboards, you're able to embed them, programmatically replicate them, and manage the entire lifecycle as part of your software lifecycle. All of this with the advantage of auto-scaling to all your users. So whether you have tens of users to start with and you're just getting started with a prototype, or whether you want to roll out a production system to your customers in a matter of weeks or months, you're able to do that. QuickSight automatically scales to what you need, and with no servers. So you don't have to do any servers, you don't have to do any scripting. All you need to do is create your dashboards, publish it, and then get it going. And of course, you've got different versions of this, so you can easily, we've seen many customers who have needs for theming these dashboards for multiple customers. Theming APIs are something else that we're working on. So this is just the beginning. With with theming and APIs, there's more coming, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. And with that, I'd like to invite Nick, who's going to come on stage and talk to us about his experience with embedded analytics and with QuickSight.
Good morning, everyone. As Joe's mentioned, I am Nick Hahn. I run the product and development teams at Cub OS. Show of hands, who here has a gym membership? Okay, that feels right. How many of you have actually been in the last month, though? All right, that's better than I thought. I don't think I've been since Halloween. So Cub OS helps our customers, who are fitness centers and studios, reach all of you. We provide sales and marketing tools in order to reach the members who go actively, in order to encourage them and potentially sign up for personal training. So if you want to sign up for personal training, that transaction will go through our system. For those of you who have a membership but haven't necessarily been recently, we can help our customers personalize an outreach program so that they can encourage you to come back and understand why you're not going to the gym. And for those of you who didn't raise your hand at all, someday you might decide that you are interested in joining a gym, and that's when our software will help our customers reach out and provide the best possible service that meets your specific needs. We serve over 3,500 locations. We have over 40,000 active users, and we ultimately support $1.5 billion worth of revenue. We have brands such as Anytime Fitness, Orange Theory, Retro Fitness, Workout Anytime, a bunch of regionals all scattered throughout the country. So we really help bring our customers that extra efficiency they need within sales and marketing. We're a company owned by a larger company called EverCommerce. EverCommerce has almost 40 subsidiaries that are focused in working with small businesses. They provide software in the marketing, business management, and customer experience verticals within a number of different industries: home and field services, health services, and the fitness and wellness industries. EverCommerce currently supports over 8 million small business owners in our software products. So, why do we need analytics? Well, our customers ask our account management teams a lot of questions that we can't always answer easily. Which location of theirs is most effective? Which store is performing the best? Which store is performing the least? What's the most effective salesperson? Salespeople are very data-driven, very number-driven. They're all about that close and about that close rate, and being able to surface that data. Which discount programs brought in the most members, and most importantly, led to the happiest members and the members that stayed with the gym or studio the longest? That's the kind of insights we've been trying to provide our customers. Now, our account management team was making do with what we had, and they've been providing that information as possible, but it became an expensive proposition. It was not at the fingertip of our customers, and they really couldn't get this information well. So about 3 years ago now, we tried rolling our own. We spent over $500,000 building out a reporting solution. We built a whole ETL process that normalized the data, and it took about 24 months to get it to production. What we ended up having pretty much immediately was an outdated tech stack. We took a step back and we're not happy with it. We were not satisfied with where we ended up going and the journey. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to immediately feeling all the tech debt of something that you just put a lot of time into. Our customers got Excel spreadsheets via emails. I'm sure a number of you work with products that the best solution for getting analytic data is through an Excel spreadsheet probably via an email. The idea of going into an application, saying, yes, I'd like this data, and then having to go walk away, wait for it to get emailed to you, it has to process, and ultimately you probably even forgetting why you even wanted that data in the first place is, maybe that would have been fine 20 years ago, but it's not okay now. And we had a lot of bugs. We spent an entire quarter at the end of 2018 working, driving our developers crazy trying to fix bugs. I think the quality of life of the developers went downhill for that quarter. It was not something I wanted to repeat. So, having said all that, we ended up rebooting what we were doing and saying we needed to go in a different direction. Nope, wrong button. There we go. All right, so we had 3 options that we were looking at. We could build on open source, we could stitch together a number of best-in-breed point solutions, or we could ultimately pay for the all-in-one solution. Obviously, I'm here, so I guess you guys can guess which we went with, and that was to pay for the all-in-one solution. But why did we pay for the all-in-one solution? Well, we're a small team. We're a small business. We really just exited the startup phase about 18 months ago. We're a small business. We're emphasizing profitability. We're trying to emphasize being a mature product that these large brands can rely on to provide their services. It wasn't our core competency to provide data visualizations or graphs or ETL tooling. That just was not part of our core competency. It would reduce the time to market. When we were going through and planning what it would take to redo this, it was going to be quarters worth of effort, whereas if we had an all-in-one solution, it could be months worth of effort. And then finally, reduce the team costs, right? We estimated about $180,000 worth of reduction in cost because of the new roles that we didn't have to hire, right? We're a small company. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. We're all trying to do the best we can with limited resources. So having to go out and hire additional roles for specialty in certain areas was not really ideal for us. So we decided an all-in-one solution, but why did we go with Amazon QuickSight? So ultimately, it's extremely enterprise friendly, and being owned by a large corporation that has a number of subsidiaries, it was great to have. We have an existing account management relationship with AWS. There's already business reviews that are occurring. We already have a line of communication to be expressing our needs. There's events like this where we can be learning how better to be using our software. We're able to bill at the parent account level, which for accounting purposes was important to us. And then being able to pay as you go. As a small company, paying up front, 6 figures potentially for a solution that we didn't necessarily know exactly how the users were going to adopt and use is a terrifying thought. So being able to have a pay-as-you-go model where we could ramp up to the usage was absolutely critical for our comfort level. It's fully managed. Of course, that's always a good thing. We had just spent a lot of time in 2018 migrating to a number of fully managed services, so why would we not have a fully managed service for our analytics solution? It allows us to focus on meeting our customer needs. We scale without concerns. For example, part of our software had a big usage on last Friday, and we use a lot of Amazon fully managed services, so they just scale without us even thinking about it. I don't get blown up on my phone anymore from Slack because the site's crying for help. It's just not something that we need to worry about anymore. And saving on the ops allocations, upgrading versions of the OS's security patching, making sure we're getting every ounce out of the RAM that we've allocated to the services. It's an exhausting proposition and just something that as a small team who's trying to focus on meeting our customers' needs, it was just not in the cards. And finally, it's modern and connected. So there's a number of features that QuickSight provides that give us very tangible benefits that really resonated with us. So for example, APIs for data ingestion. We get a fully automated CI and CD process, which as a developer at heart is great. I want my CI pipeline built and automatically deploying all of our different versions of software. Mobile responsive. We have some legacy areas of the application that aren't exactly very responsive from a mobile perspective. This was one less thing for us to worry about where we could focus on the other areas of the application. SAML integration and social connection via Amazon Cognito, that security without any custom integration. Again, one less thing for me to worry about. I don't need to worry about it. It's there, it's secure. We don't have to focus on it. Having data sources for AWS resources. So again, we're fully all in on AWS. It was less than a minute for each developer to start getting up to speed and using one of our data sources. Of course, that was after we went through figuring out the security groups and the IAM situation, which that's going to vary and depend on your organizations. I'm sure you all have your own fun stories about how someone at corporate made you set up your IAM and security groups. But once we got over our own internal hurdles, it was very easy. The tooling made it very easy for us to use. And then finally, flexible embedding. We want to have control over our user experience. We don't necessarily want the vendor to be telling us how our user experience should, and how our users should be using the tool. We want to have a lot of flexibility. And QuickSight has spent a lot of time in the last year really providing that flexibility. Here's an example of one of our dashboards. This is a dashboard that's focused on the new leads that are coming in. So if you've joined one of our gyms recently, you might be one of those numbers on there, probably that sliver in the pie chart. So we're able to surface the key information that our sales leaders need within their organization up top and then allow them to drill down and pivot between all the information. You can see we have it embedded within our user experience. We have our own filters components. We have our own tabbing functionality, so we don't use Amazon's out-of-the-box tabbing functionality. We've added it so that it looks and feels familiar to the user and how they're using the rest of the application. Also, it being embedded and being native within the application gives a great benefit in that if a customer approaches a salesperson as they're looking at some of the analytics, they can easily flip over and help that customer as soon as they address them. Here's another example, again, just showing the ability to highlight. This is highlighting some of the key important information of how outreach to our customers work best. We are using the theming also, so those are our color scheme. That's our color scheme and the colors that we've chosen to use. Another dashboard. Again, the theme is give the users that high-level information that they need up top and then give them the flexibility to dive down deeper and go into that more information. We borrowed components from elsewhere within our application and applied them to our analytic pages. So instead of having to use the AWS componentry, or instead of having to create something on our own, we were able to take components that already exist and are already used by other pages within an application and put them and integrate them with the embedded dashboards. So we're able to surface a default set of dates that our customers can use based off the feedback of, hey, these are the time periods I'm looking at most frequently, so we can get them productive as fast as possible. Another example is we have a concept of regions. So you have a whole bunch of locations, but then you might have a region like the Southwest, Southeast, Northeast, Northwest, et cetera. And you want to be able to drill down into that as quickly as possible. Now, that's not a real concept that exists within our data, but it exists within our customers' minds. So being able to surface that custom componentry that allows the customers to pivot on the data within that business terminology is great. And we're able to provide like a multi-select componentry, which is outside of what Amazon provides us, and we're able to just pass in the parameters that are necessary. So, in summary, QuickSight really enabled us to change paths in what we were working on. It allowed us to focus on our customers, and it allowed us to get out of a bad situation that we were going down. We were able to deliver in about 45 days from requirements being complete to first users on the software. So we were able to really rapidly build this functionality and deploy it using the APIs that were provided. And ultimately, we have that customer focus. We're able to build in software that will delight our customers. It's going to make them more efficient. It's going to help them save time. Every minute that our customers spend fumbling around, looking through a spreadsheet or trying to find data from our software is a minute they're not making a phone call. And that's a minute they're potentially, as a salesperson, not earning a commission, or they're not actually they're reaching their goals for their membership units for the month. So every minute that we can trim back and help with them is really impactful and helps our software be better for them. And that's what QuickSight's really making our team look good so that we can help our customers be good also. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. And now we'll have Lata from Capital One come in to share her story. Thanks.
Thank you, Jose. Good morning, everyone, and hope you're all having a fantastic Monday morning. This is my first time at reInvent. I also have a first-timer badge, and I'm super excited about all the opportunity to listen, learn, and have fun while doing it here at reInvent for the rest of the week. Now today, I'm here to share some imperatives for an enterprise business intelligence solution that caters to the needs of a large organization like Capital One, and how QuickSight fits the bill for a modern self-service BI tool in our cloud-native data ecosystem. Now, before I dive into it, let me ask you all a question. What's in your wallet? So how many of you here either have a Capital One product in your wallet or are using a financial service from Capital One? Quite a few. Firstly, thank you. We appreciate your business. So Capital One as a financial services brand has been around for over 2 decades, and we just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And we continue to be led by our founder and CEO, Richard Fairbanks. What an appropriate name, right? For owner of a bank. But so under his leadership, we are on a single mission to improve our customers' financial management experience by reimagining where it should be rather than where it generally is today. And to achieve this, we believe that disruption and innovation is not a choice. And with that philosophy, the idea of the Capital One Cafes was born, and it continues to be the case with our information systems as well. Now, for the next several years, we are also reimagining our talent, our culture, how we work and leverage information and technology infrastructure. Why? Because we do believe that the winners, the future winners in banking are going to be great tech companies with an exceptional risk management skills as that of a leading bank. We truly believe that the winners are going to be technology-driven banks, in a sense. So with that conviction, we have sought out on a journey of digital transformation. A couple of years ago, we decided to go all into cloud and figure out a data ecosystem that works and gives us the business agility to innovate, truly innovate our business. Now, digital transformations happen every day around us. They are changing the way we communicate, we connect with people, we shop, we travel, we manage our health, even the way we manage our money. So, and no digital transformation is perhaps possible without a data transformation. So 2 years ago, our data transformation journey started with re-architecting our entire data ecosystem to be 100% cloud native with modern technologies, and it dramatically improved our ability to manage our data at a very large scale and in real time, and it actually set a great foundation for our business intelligence, machine learning, as well as AI capabilities. Now, the strategy is no different for our business intelligence either. These are some of the facts about Capital One that are pretty public, so I'm not going to. So with that strategy in mind, I'm a technologist in the enterprise BI space for Capital One, and I lead the Center of Excellence there. And my group's functions are multidimensional in that we are not only responsible for maintaining and supporting our existing portfolio of applications and products for the BI needs of the organization, but we're also responsible for governing all the content that's generated on this platform across the board, and also from time to time analyze the use case gaps across all our lines of businesses and be able to explore and innovate to serve these use case gaps within the realm of business intelligence. So today, our BI community comprises of over 25,000 analysts, and this user community has users of varied skills and roles and responsibilities within the organization, ranging from executives all the way to the call center agents. And we also are a mix of traditional BI model as well as a self-service BI model. At a platform level, at an enterprise level, we are largely self-service, but we do have a traditional BI model within our LOB tech groups. So as we started achieving the milestones of our data transformation, we started looking at how do we align ourselves in the analytics ecosystem to take advantage of the modern data ecosystem that we are trying to build. And for that, we identified that we have to solve for 3 problems to be effective as a data organization. The first one is one lake consumption. So we started building an enterprise data lake based off of S3, and when we were looking at new capabilities or even the existing capabilities that we had on the BI platform earlier this year, we were looking at a BI tool and how these BI tools could enable consumption of this one lake and do it with fine-grained access control. That was critical. So one lake consumption was our primary, was the first one we needed to solve for. The second one, we have thousands of internal applications and analytical processes, both internal as well as external customer partnerships facing. And there is at least 50% of these applications have a BI component that were either homegrown within the LOB tech groups or were leveraging a commercial tool just within the boundaries of that lines of businesses tech group. And we wanted to look at the modern BI tools that would help us achieve the seamless integration with our existing applications and processes. We didn't want our users to learn a new tool, like especially on the application side, we didn't want them to be in the business of trying and testing tools. We wanted to provide a solution that will relatively easily embed these insights into their application seamlessly. Now, the third one is governance. Like most organizations, small, medium, large, doesn't matter, most organizations that treat data as an asset do consider governance as an important aspect of their data organization. But in a regulatory and compliance environment, for us at Capital One, it's almost a requirement to be a well-managed and well-governed platform for auditability. So these were some of the problem areas that we were really bent upon solving as we looked at modernizing our BI platform. Now, some of you who are with an organization with multiple lines of businesses probably can resonate with some of these business areas in the sense that where your BI use cases are coming from, and that's no different for Capital One. But the thing is, we have thousands of workbooks today and thousands of use cases that are in flight, which have both operational and analytical reporting needs. And when we are looking to find a BI tool, it's not just it being a cost-effective tool, but it also needs to be highly scalable to grow alongside our business, because we are serving all our LOBs, not just one or two. We're serving our card, we are serving our retail bank, we are serving our commercial bank, global finance, auto finance, liquid tech, and even our shared services. So with that being the case, another important consideration besides cost effectiveness and scalability is the ease of adoption. So today there is a good bunch of average analysts who think Excel is still the most cool tool to do analysis. And we would like to change that. We'd like to change how an average analyst thinks at Capital One by bringing in tools that are modern, self-service, but also very easy to be onboarded to and use. That's just another important piece that we considered. So with all these considerations, why QuickSight? Now, today we are almost close to finishing our data transformation. All our data systems are 100% in cloud, and they are heterogeneous in nature, in the sense that we have a data lake that's S3 based, all deployed in AWS, and it's generally used today for a search and discovery of data sets across the board, and for more exploratory use cases for business intelligence. And then we have an enterprise data warehouse, which is a more fit-for-purpose data source, and it's implemented in Snowflake, also deployed in AWS. And then we also have hundreds of federated data sets which are owned by the lines of businesses, and they deployed those in their own AWS accounts as well. Now, how do we find the future tools for our product portfolio that can get fully integrated with all these data sources and still make us feel secure about this integration? Another piece that I just touched upon in the earlier slide is the embedded analytics portion. So our applications and processes are all in hundreds of AWS accounts. So for us, it just was very natural to choose QuickSight in the sense that the IAM role-based security model could be leveraged for integrating our QuickSight enterprise implementation with any application across the board. And it's not just the fact that we could do it, and I'll speak to this a little bit later in the slides, but it's not just the fact that it was possible, it was also as to how easy it was to do it, just because we fortunately were all in the AWS canvas at this point. Now, the fully managed service portion, and most of you are all familiar with this, but this was our first fully managed service within the BI space. There were several other managed services that we have leveraged and kind of really loved what it gives. But for my platform, we have some legacy tools that we dealt with maintaining, and it becomes cumbersome over time because we do have every 60 days, we do have a mandate within Capital One to rehydrate our systems to stay on top of our security and stability vulnerabilities. So right now with QuickSight, we don't have to think about rehydrations. We don't have to plan for long cycles of software upgrades or even capacity planning. Like, for example, we had a Walmart account onboarding that happened earlier this year. And when a line of business like card comes and says we have 5,000 more readers being added to our platform, we didn't have to worry about it. So that was really truly scalable, and we didn't have to focus on capacity reassessment at all. So what that gives us is really a shift in our focus to move away from operations and move to doing better things like governance, and make sure that we have an enterprise report catalog that cross-references with their data sets, and make it easy for our analyst community to explore and build insights rapidly and accurately, and have a consistent business intelligence, have a consistent set of BI assets. So, and apart from that, from just the governance aspect, we have also realized how much we were able to focus on understanding each lines of businesses groups, business goals for every year, and then see what type of insights they need to deliver on those business goals, and how we can help them quickly take their data to those insights stage. And we did that by use case evaluation exercises, and partnering with them and coaching them as to what's the right place to do what they're trying to achieve. So we are playing a best practice consultants in terms of use case evaluations, and at some point we have also started engineering for these gaps, which are very Cap 1 specific use cases, like detokenization on the fly, for example, like detokenization of PCI data on a report. Like somebody's looking at an analysis and they want to know the exact PCI information, and they have the security and authorization for that. And none of the tools that we have explored in the market have that capability. So we have to engineer for some of these Cap 1 specific gaps, and we are able to focus on platform engineering from that perspective. So, and then for the scale of the organization we are, and the number of readers, the amount of activity that happens on these insights, paper usage is really important. And the solution has to be cost effective, so we can have a robust chargeback model to our LOBs, because in some cases we do charge them back for our services that we provide at the enterprise. And some lines of businesses find value in continuing to invest in growing these services that we offer on our platform. So in that sense, I think QuickSight gives us an incredibly transparent and cost-efficient model for us, and as well as for the lines of businesses. And the last thing you see here is really something that we have discovered as a nice to have in our POC stage. So typically when we are evaluating a tool or a service or a product or an application, we put together a group of power users across the lines of businesses, and they go at it from a user testing perspective, if it fits the bill. And what we have learned is a lot of users came back to us and told that this feature actually sets a good baseline for their decision support systems. Usually you just build dashboards and reporting, and when the user of that dashboards are starting to understand at a very fundamental level to start deriving insights. But then the machine learning and anomaly detection alongside natural language narratives is really enabling these groups to go at decision support system usage right off the bat. So for all those reasons, QuickSight was a compelling solution for us to be adding to our portfolio. Now this is an enterprise platform implementation of QuickSight at Capital One. As you can see, there's Amazon QuickSight integration to our fit-for-purpose EDW, which is implemented in Snowflake, also in Amazon, also in AWS through a private link. There is Amazon QuickSight integration to tools like Athena and Presto for our one-lake consumption. Now keep in mind that QuickSight can report straight off of your S3 buckets. But in our case, we have a security model that combines the horizontal data privileges as well as the fine-grained access control that put together needs a connector like an Athena or Presto to have that integration with security in place. And then we also see here a connection to hundreds of federated data sets also deployed in AWS accounts from QuickSight. And so when LOB comes and says, I have this data set, I need to report using QuickSight, it's as simple as opening up a security group. Of course, we go through the exercise of getting cyber and cloud engineering approvals, but then it's fairly easy given how well this works within the ecosystem. Now, embedded analytics. There are a lot of BI tools that do provide embedded analytics capabilities. But where QuickSight really shines for us is the fact that it truly is as simple as those 4 steps outlined there. And I know Joe had mentioned a little more details around the embedded analytics, and in our experience, really, I mean, it's just, we could achieve this in less than a week for some of the deployments that we have done recently. And in our experience, given all our applications are in AWS, it couldn't be any more seamless, quicker, or simpler. I think that's just, it's phenomenal as to how we are able to leverage embedded dashboards feature within QuickSight. Now, I talked a lot about the business intelligence use cases from the user perspective, but within Capital One, we have 2 additional requirements when we are considering a new tool or a technology or an application. And as much as we all know that any AWS service is resilient enough, we have an internal Capital One mandate that every single application of ours in production has to go through an exercise to prove their resiliency twice a year. That's just a mandate. So for that, what we do is we have to replicate our entire platform content to a cross-region, fail over, stay there for 7 days, and fail back. And to achieve that, QuickSight gives us the data APIs that we are starting to design and develop a framework on top of the data APIs and achieve this resiliency. Now, we launched QuickSight recently, so we do have 6 months before we can deliver that. And we're going to continue to partner in the next few months. We're going to continue to partner with the AWS product team, QuickSight product team, to take advantage of the features that they're releasing with this data API. And the second piece, the governance, which, like I mentioned earlier, is extremely important. And data API and the dashboard APIs are critical for us to be able to build the capabilities like report catalog, the access controls, and also the auditability metrics and KPIs. Some tools, it's straightforward, but there are some other tools that we've dealt with in the past where the governance piece and being able to extract all this metadata out of the tools was just a pain. And it was taking a lot of energy out of us. So here's a snapshot of a shared tech management portal. This is the dashboard that's embedded in our shared tech services portal. And this is the dashboard that we practically deployed in just a week. And our shared services has dozens of applications that are leveraged by several groups across the board. And this gives us a ability to monitor the adoption and usage of some of these services that we're building, and also get a trend, find a trend in spending, and also gives us some decision-making capability in terms of where we want to continue to invest to build these services. And this dashboard was built by a team that just learned QuickSight and quickly collaborated with cyber and cloud engineering, just made it happen to deliver in a week. This is another dashboard, example of another dashboard. Like I mentioned, we use Snowflake for our enterprise data warehouse, and for a large enterprise like Capital One, the Snowflake, as much as it's an incredible technology, the cost can really climb up really quickly. And we need to, and we decided to build about seven tools that we integrated with the Snowflake implementation in order to give us better control on our governance, access, as well as our cost efficiencies. And SnowView is one of them, and what it does, it really keeps, at the core, it really monitors all our usage across the LOBs from both compute, storage, ingestion of data, as well as the kind of queries they're running and why they're expensive and if there's an alternative query. So, and this could be sliced and diced to the point of an individual user, not just LOBs and groups, but also the individual users. So we are hoping to take advantage of the namespace feature that we are looking forward to be released by Amazon, and we're going to make this tailored for individual groups to monitor their own cost efficiencies as they continue to use Snowflake for fit for purpose. So these are all slides that are showing us theme dashboards and natural language narratives, which are really making this a compelling tool for usage. So In a sense, I think our success story is primarily because of our ease of provisioning and adoption at the scale we are. And we were able to go from data to insights as quickly as a day and embed our analytics in less than a week. And we were able to achieve one-link consumption, and we are also redefining our group as a center of excellence by focusing on better things that are more enabling to the business rather than having to focus a ton on operations. With that, I hope you all have some takeaways that can make QuickSight a prospect tool for your BI needs. Thank you, and turn it over to Bruce.
Thank you, Lata.
Thanks.
So Lata and Nick have given you some very different perspectives on how QuickSight plays a role in their embedded analytics story. Now I'll just leave you with one key slide here, which talks to some of the key updates that we've done. So QuickSight's iterating very fast, keep checking on the latest features, and you'll find that there's a lot that's happened in the past 6 months, and there's a lot more that's coming. And then you've got AWS training and certification, which gets you insights and how-tos on the tools and the services that we offer. And thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence, and we can take questions off stage.